Alrighty, hey, welcome back to another week of Whether or Not with Derek and Scott. Now, you notice it's just me. Obviously, there's no one. Derek is not here today. He's on assignment. So I am taking the reins by the horn, or the horn by the reins, and going forth with this. I have a very special guest today, somebody I've known for several years. We met within the industry, and she is a lovely, and I mean absolute lovely woman, one of the sweetest women you could ever potentially meet. Amber Lynn Carroll, I'm bringing her in here. Amber, it is so nice to again talk with you after so many years of being disconnected, and we'll get into how we met in a little bit. But welcome to our Whether or Not podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me on. When you asked me to be on, it took me back a little nostalgic when we used to sit at the desk together, and I mean a friendship and you know, working together with you, some of the best memories I've ever had in the industry. So thank you for having me on today.
You're very welcome. There's a lot to cover because you are such a well-diverse woman. We're going to start off with a little bit of the past, and we're going to go back to, well, first of all, you studied broadcast journalism. Obviously, that's how we met within the field. And you're also a certified life coach. We can get into that a little bit. But for those who don't know you, and we'll have a photo here in a moment, you were Miss Tennessee. Incredible feat. I can only imagine how strenuous it was for you to get to that spot. Can you tell me what some of the rigors were to get from just entering pageants, how many pageants you entered, to finally winning?
You know, it's so funny, Scott. I had not entered a pageant since my teen days. I think the last one I did was I was about 18 years old. And then, of course, college came, and it was either career or, you know, focus on college at that point. And so pageants kind of were a thing of the past for me. My husband and I came across Mrs. America, and I was like, I had no idea that they had a married women pageant or sector that we could be involved in. And what I loved about the Mrs. America organization was that it was platform based and something a little deeper than what you see on stage. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try my hand at it. We're in Tennessee right now. It was 2020, so not much going on. I figured this is the perfect time to just try it out and see. Like I said, had not done a pageant since I was 18. Well, I ended up winning the entire thing, and I was Mrs. Tennessee America. I went to Mrs. America actually this past March and placed second runner-up at Mrs. America.
Oh, wow.
So it was a lot of fun, yeah.
Incredible. We actually have a photo of you up from Facebook with the tiara on you and the banner saying Miss Tennessee there. So I don't know if you can see that, but if you can, yeah, that's a photo of you. I don't know where that was taken. Maybe you can help me in that, but certainly a tremendous accomplishment, Amber.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I did many photo shoots. That was one thing that was very new to me because on this, you know, back half of news and sports, it's all about the grind, carrying your own camera, and then somehow you've got to look made up. But this was, you just show up, you know, and here you are, you just take pictures and look good doing it. So it was a little different for me than what I've been doing.
Can you give us a little insight, a little behind the scenes for those who don't know what type of rigors all the women go through trying to, you know, enter a pageant? Then, I mean, is there a written section? You know, you have to answer certain questions, and then do you go to a fitness end of it, or how does that all come about?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. Not a lot of people get a chance to see kind of what goes on behind the scenes. I am currently a life coach and work with a consulting group now called KPC Consulting. And we actually work with girls now through this process of pageantry for Mrs. to Miss women. There's so many different elements that go into going on stage. I mean, you're practicing walking in your heels because some days you're in your heels for 12 hours. 7 days a week, and it's practicing interview, it's learning how to speak on camera, it's learning how to talk in front of a group, but most of all, it's about telling your story and who you can really reach with that story. And that's the biggest point that I have for pageantry in general, especially the Mrs. America organization. That was so profound to me. There was so many women. I mean, there should have been a crown for every single one of them because of what they stood for, what they've been through, and how they took this beauty from ashes, essentially, and turned their story into something beautiful. And having that title and having that representation is so much more than the crown and sash. You know, of course, it's like this big megaphone you have for these things that are so near and dear to your heart and that you care about. And the Mrs. Competition was so much fun because everyone's married. Most of us have kids. And, you know, we're just there to have fun. We're in Vegas, doing the best we can. We're just doing what we love because we just love talking about what can make an impact in people's lives.
Yeah, you mentioned, you know, telling your story, and you know, what I can't think of a bigger platform for a woman to win a title such as yours, you know, Miss Tennessee, or even, you know, Miss World, or whatever it is, and being able to speak your mind. I was going in a certain direction, but now I'm going to go a little off track here because your story, it's a little bit of a sad story, but the platform of winning Miss Tennessee helped you to provide information and insight to suicide prevention, mental health awareness. And can you explain what that means to you and why what it means to you and why it all came about and what that topic is?
Thank you for asking, Scott. Yeah, my platform is suicide prevention and mental health awareness. I lost my brother Jake to suicide in January of 2019. And I actually had just left my job in Savannah working with you and kind of felt led and called to leave that job and didn't really know why. And about 2 months later, after I had left, this had happened and our world was shattered. I mean, that's the best way to put it. There are no words for loss in general, but suicide loss and grief truly does take a toll on you. And I got together with my parents, and not knowing the signs of what my brother was going through, he left us a bunch of different journals that he wrote his thoughts in every single day, kind of what he went through, what he was thinking. So we were able to kind of see into his mind a little bit and say, hey, I didn't know this was going on. Perfectly normal. I mean, he was such an incredible guy. You would never know ever just approaching him that he suffered from so many different mental health illnesses or whatever you would like to call that or put that in that realm. But he was such an incredible guy. And even myself reading his journals, I personally found refuge in knowing that I wasn't alone in my thoughts. I actually attempted as a child, was unable to understand exactly how to vocalize that. Mental health is not something that we talked about in our family or where we were culturally. And so being able to understand that and understand where people come from and just kind of meet them where they are and help them be able to talk about their mental health and help them to understand they are never alone. That is huge. We actually have a saying that he wrote to himself a lot. It says, I love you and so do others. And that's what we try and preach every single day is just, I love you and so do others. And we're actually coming up with an initiative in the next few months. I'm taking my life coaching lessons and I'm putting them on our website for people to kind of just have this classroom of life coaching and what that looks like and help them achieve those goals and to be a little bit more attainable. And also we're doing kind of an open mic type thing for our website. So definitely be on the lookout with that, with We Are Team Jake. We just want to do the best we can with what we have and, you know, just share the love that my brother so freely gave to everyone else.
Absolutely. It's a very good point and well stated, Amber, because you know, even though your brother is not with you here, you know, physically, in spirit he is, and you always have to look at the bright side, and to a degree, you know, you always hear about families wanting closure when a loved one passes. Well, in essence, you kind of just got a little bit of that by reading his journal, because you were there to understand, you were to read his thoughts of what he was going through over time. So I think maybe for you and your family, that was, I would say, a bit of a help there, right?
Oh, absolutely. And dealing with that, I think that's what's been so beautiful about growing as a nonprofit. It started as a cause, and honestly, you said it perfectly. It was a way for us to heal, helping others through healing, as well as intensive therapy and definitely some notable books that really helped us. But this was such a great outlet in order to keep his story going. I think for us as a family and how it has evolved has really brought so much joy into our lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and that joy carries over time. You know, it never goes away for sure. You know, like I said before, you and I met down in Savannah. You were, you know, you had been out of the business, I think, for a little bit with regards to reporting, because you weren't just a sports anchor, you also reported, so you had that double-edged sword going there. I have one story or memory of you, which I remember very vividly, which was great. The first day that you found out, first of all, for those who don't know, your husband is a pitcher within the Baltimore Orioles system. And he was in the minor leagues, I guess, at that time, and then got brought up to the big leagues. And you ran through the studio. I have never seen a happier human being in my life than you. It brought back some memories when I think about it, or brings back memories when I think about it for sure. How did you find it kind of interesting, the dichotomy of it all? You know, being in the television industry and being specifically within the sports realm, and your husband being an athlete, did you ever feel there was any sort of conflict there, or did you never even think about it?
There certainly was. You know, before I had gotten to Savannah, I was actually working as a freelance journalist. I had left a station as to where I didn't have a great experience and had subtly just kind of, you know, gotten out of that station and gotten to freelance and really found refuge in Savannah. It was an incredible community and I love it. I miss it so much. We're actually going there this weekend. We continue to do a baseball camp with some of the guys down there. It's so much fun. We love Savannah. And it broke my heart to have to even leave because it wasn't something I wanted to do. But like you said, there was that conflict there, and there was that point as to which being on the other side of the sport, I knew that we were going to hit that point as a couple and say, hey, I need you with me, or if, you know, it's time to travel together. It's time for us to stop seeing each other once every month and, you know, have slept weekends. And that actually came after he got the call. And it was a couple weeks in, and I remember, I'll never forget this look, when we got traded to the Orioles, actually from the Yankees. And he just looked at me, and you just know someone needs you at that point. He was like, I need you with me. And I was like, I'm here with you now. You know, I've got a couple of days off. He's like, no, you know, I need you with me. You know, you're my rock. And so like you said, it was a very tough decision to have to make. But I knew at that point, I was kind of being led in that direction. And with everything that followed, it was almost like that validation for me. Now, that being said, it is almost every single day. It's extremely hard for me to know that I'm not sitting there at the desk, you know, next to you, and just in general, because it's in your blood. And luckily, I married a sports fanatic. So when he's not playing baseball, we're watching sports, doing something alongside sports. So that's been a really big blessing. And I know that there's no expiration date. There's no expiration date for humans in general. So I know that it's always there, and I would love to jump back at it now, having our feet wet for about 3 years into major league and minor league together. I think we've kind of reached that point now where he's like, okay, I think I can go and do this and leave you and the dog, and I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, I met Cody. He is a terrific guy, very low-key, humble man. Doesn't, you know, at least when I met him anyway, he was kind of, you know, we did more talking at the table there, having a little bite to eat, but very, very nice guy. Really enjoyed both of your company, and yeah, it was interesting to actually meet him and talk about sports. So you're right, he is a huge sports fanatic, and I think we all three of us have that in common. All right, and by the way, we put up your picture of your reporting from from the station down there. I don't know if you caught it, but yeah, exactly, you were all there with Mike all ready to go. We also have something else in common besides working together. We also have our same agent, our talent agent, David Bruner. David is a terrific guy, and David he's a very unique man in the sense that he's an agent that started his own television network, DB&A Television. This podcast is on overnights. We're not as popular as your show, Amber, so but you have a show on there too as well, and it is called The Better Half. And when I looked it up, remarkably, I found that hey, there's a TV drama called The Better Half. It's a Filipino TV drama. Go figure. So that's not what I was looking for. But tell me about your show on David's network there. How did it come about? What do you talk about? And we'll go from there.
So DB had this great idea. He was like, I think having the other side of sports and having our nonprofit too, there was a lot that we've done within the community of significant others, like whether it's working with their nonprofits or them coming to work with us on different projects. It was something very close to my heart, and he was like, I've got a pitch for you. What about the better half? And make it your own, make it what you want. But I think you have this unique ability to be able to talk about the different sides of sport, in which he knows telling the other side of sport stories are my passion. And so I just kind of took off with it. It started out with actually Dean Kramer. He plays with the Orioles. He's one of our good friends. And I texted him and I said, hey Dean, I've got a new show on Roku and Amazon TV, and of course talked about it. DB's just amazing. And it was so much fun. I actually had my husband on that first episode, and they just like bantered back and forth about different things that they went through. We actually lived with him when they were both hurt, and I believe in 2019. So it's just been so much fun to see it evolve. I've got to have you on. I was actually going to ask you after this if you would be on my show, because I would love to talk weather, and just you are such a wealth of knowledge. But I've really enjoyed all the people I've been able to meet, and we just have a lot of fun. Sometimes it's about mental health. I think the October segment was I interviewed the Salem Witch Museum. They have one of the biggest Halloween celebrations in the world. So I thought that was pretty cool, kind of off topic, but something cool to bring about.
Absolutely, yeah. First of all, I'd love to be on your podcast. I'd love to be on your show. Absolutely, hands down. We'll work it out. Okay. But you do have a wide range of topics. I was looking through. One of them which caught my eye and interest was an episode called Damn Worth It Company. Really interesting, and the topic was fascinating. How did you come up with that thought process and basically people on?
So they are a mental health outlet for basically athletes and anyone really in college, and even sports fans. So their story is so significant. They're both athletes, or they were athletes in college, and they came together. They actually had a couple of teammates. They lost a couple of teammates to suicide, and they thought, we have to do something about this. So now not only are they building chapters at their old school, but they're building chapters all across the nation and all across the world. And I just found it so significant, because even fans, like I said, can reach out and be a part to Damn Worth It Co. But they're incredible people, and they just do so much in our communities and helping our college students, because that is one of the biggest ages, where you're kind of in limbo wondering, what am I doing with my life? I'm about to be out of school. Do I work? And you just find, my brother was 22 when he passed. And I found a lot through those specific ages, at the age group, there's a lot of turmoil that they face and experience. And especially in today's society, you've got social media, you've got different things that you are expected to live up to. And this is just such a great outlet for that to be taken off your plate, but especially for athletes in general. My husband and I have had that conversation on mental health in the athletic world and in the sports world. So it's just really close to my heart what they do. They are absolutely, like I said, incredible people. They've been featured on ESPN. So I wrote them and I hit them up and I was like, hey, I've got this show. I'd love to have you guys on. and they were so incredibly receptive to it.
That's awesome. You know, we take it for granted. We see, for example, your husband is an athlete. They're out there, and we as just non-athletes, we look and go, man, I would love to have that life or whatever. But there is a lot involved. There is a lot. I mean, to get to the level that, you know, your husband and everybody else who's an athlete does, and that means a lot of added pressure and strain, and that could mean and translate over to health issues and stuff like that. People don't think about that, but it's so true. So I'm glad you brought that to light, whether it's college or whether it's pro. You know, I think it was a great episode, and certainly well worth watching for sure. So one last thing, you know, how has the life coaching aspect, first of all, because I didn't know until after that you were into life coaching, and how did that come about, and how's it going for you as a life coach?
You know, so that was another great thing that came out of 2020. I had got my certification. My therapist, actually, we had talked about it, and she had thought that maybe it would be a really good outlet for me to kind of lean on and get into, especially with our nonprofit and being able to maybe pass along services with that background. So I thought, okay, let's do it. And I actually got a position with a firm in Baltimore, Terra Baltimore Counseling. They are incredible people, just phenomenal. But I got to know them really well during 2020 as well, virtually, and they offered me a job as soon as I got my certification. Learned a lot of ins and outs from them. They are so well equipped, and they helped me a lot kind of discover my style and how I like to approach things. And basically for me, it's all about helping someone keep telling their story and to tell it from their heart and their desires. You know, I mentioned social media earlier. There's so much going on. You can scroll, and there's so many expectations. And honestly, some of us get so overwhelmed with what to do, and just having someone on your side, like be your biggest cheerleader. I kind of put it into sports terms. Currently, like I said, I am coaching with KPC Consulting, and I coach pageant girls. So they work with me, and they kind of discover their why, and we kind of bring out the heart of the story. Like, what do you want to do in the community? And not only what do you want to do with this title, but what do you want to do beyond the title? What do you want to make an impact on the community? What is that for you? And what does that look like? So we kind of discover those things together, but I always am super adamant about their worth is way more than the crown. Their worth is way more than what they're stepping on that stage too. But I think having a journalism background, I think that helps a lot with life coaching, putting together someone's story, essentially get them a little storyboard, like I'd be writing my story and say, you know, what do you want a feature of you about? So that's where I am right now with that. I really enjoy it. It's just something I do on the side, and I just really enjoy pouring into these young women.
Absolutely. Hey, great stuff that you're doing, Amber, for sure. You're providing a lot for the community and your service there with the life coaching and helping, like you said, the young women out there and doing almost God's work, if you will. You know, as easy as simple as I can say it. I tell you, boy, our time has gone by so quickly. It is hard to imagine. We're pretty much we got to wrap up here, but I absolutely loved speaking with you. We will work out something where I can be on your podcast there on your show at some point down the road, and we'll keep in touch certainly as we go forward in time, because you know, you're going to continue to develop and grow, and it'll be interesting. In a couple of weeks, we'll be doing, you know, revisiting our ski resorts in December. So I kind of want to revisit you and see how your life coaching is going, as well as other aspects of your life, and see how Cody is doing as well. All right, so thank you so much. I do want to also ask you to plug any information that you want regard to how can people contact you, whether it is the you know, the life coaching aspect, or whether, for that matter, it deals with the suicide prevention and the nonprofit that you're dealing with too.
So you can go to our website at weareteamjake.com, or shoot me an email. It's AL as in Amberlynn, AL Carroll, 2 R's, 2 L's, tv@gmail.com. And you can always find me and our nonprofit on Instagram at We Are Team Jake.
All right, excellent. There you have it. Lynn Carroll, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me here today on our Whether or Not podcast. We will talk again very, very soon. All right, so there you have it here. Beautiful woman, both inside and out, Lynn Carroll. So glad to have her on the podcast. We'll again bring her back down onto the podcast in next year for sure, and catch up what she's doing next week. On our Whether or Not with Derek and Scott, we will probably be talking a little space weather. Well, that's the hope anyway. A little space weather next week. And then we have Thanksgiving, so we'll be off for Thanksgiving, and we'll be back, as I mentioned, in December. The first 3 weeks, we'll be talking with different ski resorts in Maryland, in West Virginia, as well as Virginia, and finding out what the conditions are like and how they're making out in 2021. As always, God bless, be well, stay safe. That's a wrap for Whether or Not this week.
Thank you.